All right, well, after, I guess for me, it was almost a week-long hiatus. Figure I need to get back at this thing. And now the problem is I got to remember where I was at. So I've got both the pistons out, and now I need to take the timing cover off. So timing cover is held on by, I believe there's 5 bolts. Well, 4 bolts and then a nut on a stud. God, this thing's just a mess. So, nut, 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. I'm actually just going to go ahead, and these are 1/2 inch bolts. This is always one of those challenging things to remove, because there's a lot going on here, and it's it gets stuck on the engine block. So it just takes a little bit. All right, so that. Now, you got a couple things you got to remember here when you take this timing cover off. One, you got to make sure that you take the key off, or the key out. If it's a P series, the key is going to basically, you're going to have to run the seal over the key. A B series, you should have enough room in there that you don't necessarily have to take it out, but I would highly encourage you to take it out. Just something that I would recommend. Next, we just have to figure out a way to get, a hammer or some light taps on the timing cover itself. That gasket is pretty doggone sticky. Well, this one's going to make a liar out of me from the sounds of it. It's got 2 studs, one right here, one right there, that they like to hold on a little bit. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain, particularly it gets stuck on the bottom here, and it's just a matter of oh, hey, broke that. It's a first. I've never done that before, but not that. Timing covers are pretty cheap, and my guess is that was actually already broken because that large stator, and it looks like, yeah, that large stator, and that, so the stator went right here, and that wire, if you could tell, that was kind of mushed in here. So my guess is there was some extra pressure on these tabs over the years. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm keeping the screwdriver on the timing cover side, and so the gasket is protecting the engine block. Boy, this thing just does not want to come off. There we go. All right. Now, remember, with your timing cover here, this governor shaft, down at the bottom of this governor shaft, there is a little ball bearing that this floats on. And when you assemble this, somebody recently asked me if this plastic bushing was all that important. Yes, that plastic bushing is important because it holds it on there. And if it doesn't have it, it kind of rocks back and forth. This is the flyball spacer cover. Now, what's really nice about this engine is it actually has a metal flyball spacer in it because it is a 1983. So that is certainly good news for us. And, I'm really happy about that. Happy to see it. Next, what I need to go get some, I need to go get a pair of snap ring pliers, which I think there's actually a set right over here. I was working on the frame the other night briefly. Well, did you get scared for your life? I did. That's off now. That's why you wear safety glasses. So there's that. Now we need to pull the crank gear. But first I'm going to go ahead and pull the oil pump. And so those are 7/16. At least, no, they're 1/2 inch. Or was that oh, that's a 3/8. It is a 7/16. Go doubting myself. Oil pumps are always a little bit of a challenge because you gotta snake it around in there. There we go. Oil pump. So now we can set the engine block down on the ground or down on the bench. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use the timing cover as a stand here to kind of prop it up. So now what we need to set up, I'm going to clean my gloves off and everything. We're going to use our Onan service kit and we're going to pull the crank gear off. All right, so now we can use their drop them on the ground. We're going to use our Onan service kit here. Naturally, you know, I've got this thing all the way out. So I don't know. For those of you that watch Squatch 253, should I get a hydraulic puller for this? Those are some serious. Those are some amazing pieces of equipment. Those open center hydraulic pullers. I will have to say that I am thoroughly impressed by that setup. Hopefully one day I can justify even a 17.5 ton hydraulic ram. That would be really, really cool. That's watching him work on that D2. Anything that I've learned, it just puts it to shame. So, all right, I'm just going to use the impact. Hopefully this is 3/4. Yeah, it is. I'm just going to use the impact, and we're going to get this thing off of here. Well, it does not like that. What did I forget to do? All right, we're going to try again. Watch me struggle with this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to use my snap-on bar puller, because I have a bigger end for those, and it should work just fine. So I'm actually put that there. I like that set up a little bit better. Basically, by using the snap-on puller, I have a bigger end that's going to swivel versus the end. And I think this end was damaged before, and so what it's doing is it's trying to corkscrew in there. It was damaged when I got it. All right. Yeah. Let's try this again. See if we can get this to work. Oh. What size do I need? Seven-eighths will do it. Fixed it. All right. So what the problem was is this puller, it's already damaged, and you can see where I damaged it some more, and I also probably damaged the end of the crankshaft here. So that's 100% my fault. But instead, I got this, the larger snap-on style. Hopefully you can see all this on the camera. Let me see here. So I got the larger snap-on style. I mean, any puller with a replaceable end would work. And so what that allowed me to do is it allowed this to just sit in the crankshaft right there, and you're not going to have as many problems. So that's just something that I probably should have started off with instead of, you know, jacking around with how I did it. These crank gears are not necessarily a really tight fit. I mean, to put them on, you basically got to get them up to about 350 degrees, and then they just slide right on. Big thing with this, when you're reassembling it, make sure that these screws are going out, or these bolt holes are going out. Because if they're not going out, you'll never get it off. All right, so let me put up some of my tools here before they get strewn out all over the place. All right, so the crank gear's out, which is good. Crank gear actually looks pretty good. At least to me it does. I'm impressed with it. Certainly not nearly as bad as I thought. One of the big things with these crank gears is when they get hot, they'll actually blue a little bit. I've seen a number of those. And the last couple engines I've torn down were like that. And I just like to keep everything together. All right, so next task, to get the camshaft out. To do that, we need to get the valves out. And to do that, we got to take the valve covers off. That should be pretty simple. These are 7/16. This is the old style valve covers. So this side should just pop right off. And this side is the two-part system with the breather, which it looks absolutely disgusting down there in that breather. All right. So since this is a B series engine, there are no seals on the valve guides. So what I'm going to do is I need to go get my valve spring compressor. We'll compress the valves, take everything off, and we'll be on our way. All right, now we can start compressing valves. Oh, crap. Forgot the last time I used this valve spring compressor was when I was working on that WD-45. All right. Still can't get it right. Oh, okay. Just use a magnet. Come in here and grab the keepers. magnet I chose is a little strong. Once keepers are out, take and you should be able to slide the valve out. Should be the key word. Problem is these valves have so much carbon on them that I'm hoping they come out. They do rotate. Never had this much of an issue before. There we go. All right, so B-series valves. B-series valves are much larger than P-series valves. As an example, here's a P-series, here's a B-series. Valves in a P-series are much smaller than the valves in a B-series. So there are differences. I get really frustrated at times when people say that there are not differences between the B and the P series engines when there clearly are. So now it's just a matter of getting the keepers and everything out, and then take the lifter out. Now, the B series lifters are also different. They have a very different structure, signified by these little pockets, whereas the P series is kind of a cylindrical style unit. So what I'm going to do is, now that I have these all apart, I'm going to keep everything together for each valve set. Now we'll do the next one. Hopefully this is a little bit faster than the previous one. This also shows how out of practice I am. Not going my way today at all. And somewhere in there, I actually knocked the keeper off. I thought. Yep. Whew. There's literally so much carbon in there, they just don't want to come out. All right, so now I got one side almost done. A lot of times what I do is I just put a towel over the top here, and that helps everything just kind of stay in one place. Problem is where's that other keeper at? Well, that's odd. Oh, here it is. It's way up here. Alright, so there's another set. Flip the engine around and do it on the other side. Just to save a little bit of time on the video, I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. It'll probably, now that I'm not doing it on video, It'll probably go really smooth, but we're going to go from there. I'll come back once I've got the other side done. All right, so next order of business, now that I have the lifters and everything out, is to take this camshaft out, which should just be pulling it out, just making sure it's happy with where it's sitting. Try not to scratch anything. I'll tell you what, this engine is not going to go quietly. Making a fool out of me, that's for sure. It really should not be that hard. There we go. All right, hopefully we didn't scar anything up. It doesn't look like we did. All right, we'll set that over there. And now my favorite part. Almost any time you take these apart, they need new cam bearings, which this one does. My hands are too oily to show, but there's definitely shelling on the cam bearing. So now what we need to do is flip it around, and we need to take all the bolts off the front cover. Go ahead and we're going to remove the PTO bolts down here. Don't need those there anymore. They were keeping oil from coming out. And so these, I believe, are 9/16. So take this. I think this should have enough oomph to do it. Yep. I'm gonna say, don't fail me on the last one now. All right. Now, one of the things that a lot of folks do when they buy these Onans or they buy a 318 or something, invariably the first thing they say, well, I'm going to restore it. Okay, that's fine. And then the next thing they say is, oh gosh, I can't believe these Onan rebuild kits are so expensive. And one of the reasons these kits are so expensive is the main bearings are so expensive. Yes, main bearings are expensive, but very rarely are main bearings bad. So just remember that. I'm just basically tapping on the end. I'm going to drive this plate off. Only problem is my hammer's breaking again. All right, I'm going to get a brass hammer. Not quite. Okay. All right, so when you're taking this off, here's the front cover that main bearing we'll look at here in a little bit. Oops, got a little too far. All right. And there's our crankshaft. Now, what's really important in this crankshaft is, And if it's going back in the same block, you need to make sure that, well, first off, this is a metal spacer, which is really nice. And it doesn't appear as though there are any metal shims on this unit. Then what you want to do is reach inside the block, get your other spacer, and in this particular case it has a shim. I'm going to make sure there's no other shims on there. Nope, there's not. And I'm going to go ahead and actually put that back on this crankshaft so it's there, so the end play is correct. Now obviously if you put it in a different block, it may require more or less shims. In this particular case, it only has one. All right, so now all we're left with is the oil filter adapter, which is right here, and the oil bypass, which is right there. So that basically allows the oil to bypass, and then the oil pressure switch, and then that is it. And it is torn down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the oil pressure switch disconnected and everything, get all that taken care of. And then I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning up some of these parts, and we're going to look at these parts in the next video. And oh, and I also have I should have done this first. I completely forgot about it. So that means that now there's a rod poking down in my oh no, it's in there. My points up here, I need to do that. So if you can see, you see the little shelling right there on the cam gear. That's pretty normal for these, but the main bearings actually look pretty decent from what I can see. I don't see anything that would concern me. But really, when you rebuild these Onans, you don't have to go buy a full rebuild kit that's $1,200 or $1,300 and then spend another $400 or $500 on machining and transportation, etc., etc. Most of these Onans can be rebuilt for a couple $100 at most. You know, I mean, my 318 that I rebuilt, that was probably the first or second engine that I ever rebuilt. The one that I need to adjust the valves on, that I haven't done. I mean, that rebuild, even though I took that engine from a P218 to a P220, so I replaced the carburetor and the camshaft, you know, I think that rebuild cost me about $500, and that includes the cost of the carburetor and the camshaft. So, but we're going to go from there, and, you know, I think that's it for this video. I don't think it's as long as the previous ones, but you know, this engine's more or less torn down, and now we can plow forward on seeing what we have in parts. Thanks for watching.